What's up, y'all, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be getting into a little bit of monkey business. And by monkey business, I of course mean we're talking about a completely different species. Because we're going to be covering the insane new documentary, Chimp Crazy.
The chimpanzee lady now making national news.
They're going to have to bring sheriffs and they're going to have to bring everything that they can.
And I'm sure all of you remember back in 2020, the viral storm that was Tiger King.
I saw Tiger, now I understand.
Well, this documentary is made by the same guys. And if the title of the show didn't already give it away, it's about chimps, and it is indeed crazy. I mean, this documentary has everything from fugitives to grave robbing. There are insane survival stories. There are women breastfeeding chimps. I mean, what more can you really ask for? And it just shows how absolutely insane pretty much all of these exotic pet people are. But none of them are quite as insane as Tanya Haddix.
There's the little fucker now. Contempt. Yes, stop! I can't do that.
And Tanya is definitely a character. She's kind of like your friend's mom who likes white wine and Xanax a little too much, but instead of Xanax, she is just hooked on chimps. And I mean, between her eyelashes, her mastery of the English language,
The house needs, inundated, which we're inundating it as we speak.
and just her general insanity, she makes for a really good focal point of the documentary. Tanya also claims that people refer to her as the Dolly Parton of chimps,
Everybody compares me to Dolly. I don't know why.
which I'm about 1,000% sure she gave herself that title. But the main plot of the documentary is Tanya and her many battles with PETA, and Tanya hates PETA. Now, I'm not the biggest fan or supporter of PETA. They've done a lot of wacky stuff in the past, and wacky is putting it pretty mildly. But you would think that Tanya is living in 1940s Germany with how oppressive she feels PETA is. But, I think in this case, they kind of have a point. So let's just jump back and kind of touch on how all of this got started, how Tanya got wrapped up in this sort of underground chimp society. And before we get too deep into this whole story, I just want to say, if you haven't seen the documentary, you should for sure watch it, but I'm just going to be kind of going over the cliff notes and talking about parts that I thought were funny or just crazy. So obviously there are going to be spoilers in this video, so if you're trying to avoid those, go check out the documentary and then come back and watch the video. But anyways, so this whole thing started years ago whenever Tanya signed up for this chimp experience at the Missouri Primate Foundation. And I guess what a chimp experience is you just give them a couple $100 and you get to hang out with chimps for an hour. And this one single hour experience would change the course of Tanya's life forever, because she became so enamored with these chimps, so obsessed with them, that she literally started spending all of her time at this Primate Foundation. And the Primate place that she was spending all of her time at has an insane backstory as well. It was ran by this lady named Connie Casey, and she doesn't want to be a part of the documentary at all, so we don't really get to hear from her, but we do know some stuff about her. It turns out that Connie Casey is responsible for 3 out of every 4 chimps in the US. And I don't know if that's pet chimps or chimps in captivity or what, but what an insane stat line. I mean, she is quite literally the El Chapo of this chimp cartel. She's El Chimpo. And before her facility was the Missouri Primate Foundation, her business was just called Chimp Party. And it is exactly what it sounds like. If your little tyke was having a birthday party, you could call up Connie Casey and she would bring a whole ass chimpanzee to entertain your and other people's children. Now, if you know anything about chimps, you may see a couple small, minor issues with this. And if you somehow don't know, chimps are insanely dangerous animals.
What is the monkey doing? Tell me what the monkey's...
He ripped your face off trying to attack me!
Is the monkey still by your friend, or can you get close to your friend?
He's eating her.
I mean, it's not like you're just bringing a pony to this kid's birthday party. And chimps, they like to do this really fun thing when they attack you. They usually go for like your fingers and your hand, or your face, or the old twig and berries, because they know that ripping these things off, that's gonna harm you the most. Isn't that fun? I mean, any animal that knows that ripping your hand and your banana off is gonna hurt you the most, that's the kind of animal that you want around a dozen screaming 7-year-olds. And you can see in some of the older footage, you know, they used to just bring the adult chimps, but in some of the more recent footage, they only bring the babies. And you may be asking yourself, well, why don't they just bring the big ones? Why don't they bring those anymore? Well, here's one clip they showed of a chimp trying to grab a baby. Luckily, nothing really happens, but still, you don't really want an angry chimp trying to take off with your 2-year-old. And here's Connie's husband Mike kind of talking about the incident. You may notice there's something just a little bit different about Mike.
Never ever had any problem. Oh, you want to say hi too? We've never ever had any problem with Kirby, but chimps are chimps and people are people, and sometimes in situations we can be just as dangerous as they are.
The more astute observers in the audience may have noticed that Mike has a little boo-boo on his nose. A little whoopsie. Well, it turns out one of these chimps that's usually just working kids' birthday parties decided to play the old I got your nose prank on Mike. And by that, I of course mean it bit Mike's fucking nose off. It literally turned him into the ghoul from Fallout.
You wouldn't happen to be a doctor, would you?
So after this and some other incidents, Chimp Party was forced to turn into a non-profit. And then they came up with the much more official sounding name, Missouri Primate Foundation. And, you know, that's where Tanya's whole story kind of starts. So she's spending all of her time there, and she eventually decides, well, this isn't enough. So she just moves a camper onto the property and lives there. Also, feels important to mention this, Tanya has a husband and 2 children at home. So I want you to imagine your mom comes home, she's just packing her stuff up, and she's like, all right, see you later, I'm moving to the dog shelter, because I just love the puppers so much, so, you know, won't really be around. What the fuck, Mom? And multiple times throughout this documentary, she tells the news, the documentary crew, pretty much anybody that will listen, that she loves those chimps more than her children, more than her husband, more than anything.
I love these chimps more than anything in the world, and I mean more than anything, more than my kids, more than anything.
And there's a part in one of the episodes where they're talking to Tanyas Son, and you just can't help but to feel bad for this kid. Because he's talking about having, like, soccer games and school events, and every time his mom's like, oh, sorry, honey, I can't make it. You know, I've got to stay with the chimps because I love them more than you. But you know what Tanya probably didn't love? Cleaning. Because the place that she was working at was so dirty that PETA had to get involved and be like, hey, y'all gotta tighten up. And that's really where Tanya's whole battle with PETA begins. And somehow, after PETA starts this lawsuit, Tanya convinces the owner of the Primate Foundation, Connie, to just sign over the rights for all of her chimps. She said, I'll handle the lawsuit and I will get this place in tip-top shape. And boy, does she. Because Tanya said that she put $500,000 into renovations.
Absolutely nothing approaching $500,000 worth of work.
But while this first lawsuit's going on, chimps start escaping the facility left and right.
Oh my Tonight God. In the Fox Files, an escaped chimpanzee infestus. It shocked people.
You can see the animal try to get into a car.
You know, Tanya, maybe you should have spent some of that $500K on a couple master locks. But PETA finally says, y'all obviously don't have this under control. Every other day, y'all have a chimp getting out here on the highway directing traffic and shit. So they get a court order to rehome the chimps. And you could say that this is when things start to go bananas. So they show up to take these 8 chimpanzees. They get there, they're like 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, load them up. Hold up. There's a chimp missing. So Tonka, who was like this Hollywood actor chimp, he was in a bunch of movies. He was in Babe, Pig in the Big City. Tonka is just missing. So they obviously ask Tanya about it, and she's like, he actually died right before y'all got here. So PETA's like, okay, can we see Tonka's body? She's like, oh, body. Man, I actually had him cremated like yesterday. So yeah, no body, not too much to see really. And you would think like half the reason that PETA is even there is because, you know, these chimps are getting out every day that ends in Y. So why wouldn't you just tell them like, yeah, you know, Tonka escaped and we haven't been able to find him? Nope. Let's come up with this half-cooked scheme that, you know, he had a stroke and he died yesterday. Oh, and I already got him cremated. You know, too much critical thinking for our girl Tanya. But there's nothing that PETA can really do about it, so they just take Tanya to court to try to figure out where Tonka the Chimp is. And the part where they're in court is so incredibly dumb. I love it so much. Tanya gives them this paperwork from the guy that cremated Tonka, and it says they cremated him at 160 to 170 degrees, which, you know, may as well be an extra hot day in Phoenix. Also, turns out the guy that cremated Tonka, who put his name on the paperwork, just so happens to be Tanya's husband. You couldn't just get somebody that you're not married to put their name on the paperwork? But wait a second, turns out there's actually a little truth to what Tanya was saying. She did cremate a chimp. Uh-oh. Maybe we have this all wrong. Maybe Tanya is telling the truth. Maybe PETA is just out to ruin this woman's good name. Well, a while back, Tanya met this guy named Sai. And Sai looks exactly like what you would expect a guy who owns 12 chimpanzees would look like. But anyways, with the help of Sai, Tanya does cremate the chimp. But the chimp they cremated wasn't Tonka. Because, surprise, surprise, Tonka is alive and well, and he is stashed at Sai's house until the heat dies down. Well, what chimp did they cremate, you may be asking? Well, Sai had this pet chimp, Ricky. So, what do these two geniuses do? They dig Ricky up and just cremate that. But Ricky had been buried for 2 years, and 2 years is a really long time for something to be in the ground. Also, if you only need some ashes, like that's all you need, couldn't you just go to a butcher and get like a pig or something? I mean, that's all you need is ashes. Does it really matter if it comes from a chimp? And I mean, I could be stupid. They could be able to DNA test ashes, but I don't think you can. I mean, it's ashes. Also, it's crazy how every one of these people are constantly saying how much they love these animals. Oh, they're a part of my family. I love these animals more than my children. But, you know, whenever it's convenient for them, they'll just go dig up their beloved pet because they need to show a judge something. And another little thing about Sai, he's currently in trouble because he stole like 400 grand from his town. So, you know, he's on probation while all of this is happening. And at one part, the crew asked him, do you ever worry that harboring this chimp and, you know, helping Tanya dig up this other chimp so that she can lie to a judge about where it came from? You know, do you ever worry that you're gonna get in trouble for helping her with this? And you can just tell by the look on his face that he has not thought about this one time.
You were already in trouble with the law. Then you helped Tanya defy a court order. Doesn't that worry you?
No.
And the $400,000 he stole, they said he bought something like 9 hot tubs with some of it. Why do you need 9 hot tubs? Like, brother, I've seen the inside of your house. Why don't you hire a damn interior designer? Why don't you hold off on about 3 of those hot tubs? I mean, it's just so incredibly stupid. Also, one of the people that they follow, it's this lady named Pam, and she trains chimps in Florida. And some of the footage of her and her chimp is pretty wild. Like, one part they're watching a movie and there's a chimp in it, and hers is like mimicking everything that it's doing. They're trained to like ride horses, do all kinds of stuff, and she's having a conversation with this chimp, and he understands everything that she's saying. It's pretty insane. Like, it shows you how smart these animals are. But anyways, one time she had this chimp that was born a couple months premature, and apparently premature chimps, they can't really digest formula, and she had just had her daughter, so she figured, you know, I'm just gonna pop them both on the old chesticles, and worst case scenario, we save a few bucks on formula.
But I just had my daughter, Dallas, so I did what came natural. He's a baby that needs feeding, feed it, you know.
And I love the clip of the husband talking about it.
I come in one day and she's got Dallas on one boobie and the chimp on the other, and I go, whoa, what are you doing?
Also, what if the chimp gets used to that and starts expecting it? You know, I mean, now you got a real problem on your hands. Well, you know, maybe not even on your hands. You got a problem on something else. Well, it's been a few months since Tanya has been out grave robbing, and Tonka is living in a cage in her basement, but PETA and this actor put out a $20,000 reward for information on Tonka. And, you know, the heat is really on. With this reward, she thinks any day now they're gonna come and take him. Because you know, she's probably telling everyone, all of her friends, like, oh, I got these idiots fooled. No, Tonka ain't dead. He's living in Mama's cold, dingy basement right where he belongs. They ain't never gonna get my baby. And dude, the cage that she has him in, it's like this 10x8 tiny cage with like hamster bedding on the floor, and the only entertainment that he has is, you know, sometimes Tanya will come down there and watch like Instagram with him. You know, I mean, that's really all he had. It's honestly crazy that she can't see that this chimp would have such a better life, you know, if it went where the other chimps did. Because the place they took them, it's like this insane preserve in Florida. There's like a dozen different islands, and each island has like a group of chimps on it so they can socialize. There's stuff for them to climb on. There are people that are actually trained to care for them. But nope, because Tonka belongs in Mama's basement. He loves it here. Me and him watch Keith Lee together. He's not going nowhere. He would hate it at that chimp paradise. And just the way that she says Tonka, it is like nails on a chalkboard.
Tonka, 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 Mr. Tonka.
I would rather listen to a 12-hour loop of styrofoam rubbing together than have to hear her say Tonka one more time. But, you know, eventually the search for Tonka, it's really heated up, and Tanya actually tells the film crew that Tonka has congestive heart failure, and he might need to be put down. The film crew obviously didn't like that, because Tanya lies about literally everything. Because if Tonka dies or is killed, then, you know, all of her problems go away. So the film crew decides that they're going to tell PETA. Eventually PETA comes, They take Tonka, and surprise, surprise, he never had congestive heart failure. And one of the main points of the documentary is just showing how unequipped normal people are to take care of these animals. And we kind of get to see this firsthand because after Tonka's taken, Tanya, she's obviously torn up, she's sad, and she misses her chimp. So she hits up her friend who owns a chimp, and she said that she's playing with him through the cage, and he is just the sweetest chimp there could be. She finally decides she's gonna go in the cage and get up close and personal with him, play with him in there. She walks in the cage with this fully grown chimp, and it immediately attacks her. It tries to like bite her finger off, it takes a chunk out of her leg, it rips half of her ear off, and later whenever they interview her about it, she tries to downplay the whole thing. She's like, yeah, I mean, he kind of bumped into me. I think maybe he nicked my ear a little bit. I think he just grazed it. She's missing half of her ear. And after all this, Tanya starts talking about her future plans. What's she gonna do now? She decides that she's gonna sell her house, sell her petting zoo, and she's gonna buy an island. And on this island, she's gonna have orangutans, chimps, and a fucking gorilla just roaming around free, no cages. And also, she's gonna live on this island with them. I mean, this is purely Darwinism, you know? Other people, they might get bitten by a dog when they're younger, and some of them will spend the rest of their lives avoiding dogs. But nope, not Tanya. This lady gets her fucking ear bitten off by a chimp, and a week later, she's like, okay, I'm gonna get a gorilla, and I'm gonna live on a secluded island with them. What? And there is a lot more stuff in the documentary. You really get a feel for just how batshit crazy pretty much all of these exotic pet people are. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. And if you made it this far in the video, I really, really do appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to Jumpsuit Pablo and any of the people that may have came over from his channel. I appreciate him and all of you. But if you enjoyed it, please like the video. And if you want to see some more stuff from me, go ahead and subscribe. I recently just had a pretty crazy month with a lot of stuff going on. But I'm trying to get back to the at least weekly videos. So, you know, if you want to check some of that out, stick around. But anyways, guys, thanks again. As always, I really do appreciate it. It means the world. But until next time, peace.